Recording. So as I said, good morning and welcome to the coffee shop. We're expecting a few other people, but if you're like me and have snow this morning, that might be disrupting communications a little bit. So if I do turn my screen off, that's the reason why, because I get unstable internet sometimes when we have bad weather events. Good morning, I'm Doris Mold, and I'm one of the co-CEOs of Annie's Project. And with us this morning, we have Ruth Hambleton, the founder of Annie's Project, Madeline Schultz, who is the president of the board of directors currently for Annie's Project, and Carisha Devlin, my better half on the co-CEO slot here. And so I'm going to let each of these ladies introduce themselves, and then we'll get into a little bit of background as far as what the genesis of Annie's and kind of where we're going, and we will then open it up for Q&A. But at any point, if you have questions, you can put them in the chat box, or you can unmute yourself as well. We welcome communicating verbally if that is your wish. So I'm going to turn it over to Ruth here for introductions. And go ahead, Ruth.
Hi, everyone. Ruth Hambleton here. I'm the founder of Annie's Project. I want a big shout out to Renee Potter. I see she's on the line here. So be ready, Renee. I'm going to do some walk down memory lane with you here later on.
That's just great. I'm anxious to hear it. You're looking very good too. That's why I'm not on video. I don't look as good as you.
Well, bless your heart, Renee. Okay.
So Ruth, did you want to say anything else about yourself outside of your name?
I will get to that when I start talking about the Annie's Project. We'll just do the name introduction for right now.
Right. I thought maybe you got a little sidetracked from the wonderful compliments there. So we're looking forward to the conversation.
Conversation, you bet.
All right. Madeline.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Madeline Schultz. I'm with Iowa State University Extension and Outreach, and I manage our farm management team Women in Ag program. And I've been involved with Annie's Project since 2008, and I'll tell you a little story about how I got started with that a little bit later. I'm currently serving as the board president, as well as our Iowa statewide coordinator. So looking forward to the conversation today.
Marvelous. Thanks, Madeline. And Carisha.
Good morning, everyone. As Doris said, I'm Carisha Devlin, and I've had the opportunity to be co-CEO with Doris since 2019. In addition to being co-CEO of Annie's Project, I'm also an agribusiness specialist with University of Missouri Extension. And that was really how I got involved with Annie's Project in the beginning. I was fortunate to meet Ruth in late 2004. I think it was about this time of year, Ruth, when we all met in Quincy, Illinois. And then I held my first class in Missouri in 2005. So had the opportunity to be involved with Annie's Project for a long time, and it's really been the best thing that I've done with my career. In addition to all of that, my husband and I farm in Northeast Missouri on a row crop operation, raising corn, soybeans, wheat, and hay.
Thank you, Carisha. And as I said, I'm Doris Mold, and I'm one of the co-CEOs. I started off my life with Annie's. Of course, I was well aware of it and knew Ruth for a long time. But then I got drawn in, got asked to join the board of directors, and kind of the rest is history. The board decided they wanted to move to having a CEO, and Carisha and I decided that we would try it as co-CEOs, and it has worked marvelously well from at least my standpoint, and I hope Carisha concurs. When I'm not doing Annie's Project work, Carisha and I both serve in a part-time capacity. My husband and I also farm. We have a small dairy farm, and we also are dabbling in beef cow-calf operation, and I teach farm and agribusiness management for the Master International program at the University of Minnesota, and do some agricultural consulting as well. So enough about me. We're going to dive in, and Ruth is going to kick it off and talk a little bit about kind of the genesis. Where did this seed of the idea came from, and how did she get it started, and how did it flourish? So Ruth?
Okay, well, thank you, Doris. The seed of Annie's project, you've got to take it back to the 30 years ago when I was working for University of Illinois Extension. And being a female in a what was traditionally a man's role as an ag advisor, I had a lot of women come to me with their questions, and for some reason they felt more comfortable asking me about these things. So over the years of early in my extension career, mid-career, and especially in late career, I was making note of all these different concerns and questions that farm women had. And plus my background. So that's my career. My background is I grew up on a dairy farm in Will County, and watched my mother work on the dairy farm. We also had an egg route in Chicago. So she was very active, and I watched my mom participate in the farm operation. Even though she was not a farm girl herself, she grew up in town, visiting her grandfather's farm on weekends, deciding she wanted to marry a farmer. She did. And to just be observing her, finding her role in being a farm wife and really, wanting to love it. And we had our hard times on the farm, so I also witnessed that. Something else I witnessed as I was growing up was my grandmother lived upstairs in the same household as what my mother did. And as a kid, you observe these dynamics. And it wasn't until later years in my life I realized, oh my gosh, what kind of stress was my mother under as a result of having 3 generations living under one roof. So take all of that, my career experience, my growing up experience, and an opportunity came along in 2002. It actually came from 2 different places. The first place it came from was the North Central Risk Management Education Center had these little grants that you could get for exploring different things. And Doug Joes offered me, I think it was $2,000 or $3,000 just to explore women programming. Doug Joes and Deb Hood worked very close together on women's programming. And so I had that opportunity. And then Gary Schnitke from the University of Illinois, he was he is still with the Ag Economic Department. He found this risk management agency. It was a USDA grant for socially disadvantaged and underserved audiences. And he thought maybe I could do something with that if I had the time to put the grant together. So I did. I put a grant together. I had my little bit of research that I had done with the money that comes from the North Central Risk Management Education Center. And I was able to come up with a program called Managing Information Systems. And actually, that was just the first name, Managing Information Systems. I picked that name because it would attract the grant reviewers. The grant reviewers would look at it and say, well, we're looking for ways to manage information systems. And it was in the title of my grant. So I figured that would give me a leg up on them reading through my grant and all that good stuff. So the original grant was for a 3-year period. I think I asked for something like $279,000 over that 3-year period. And I will have to say it wasn't a well-written grant, but somebody at the USDA looked at the grant and said, I think there's potential here. So they called me up and said, hey, we like your grant. Can you do it for $40,000? I said, sure, not knowing what I was getting into at that point. So I worked with the University of Illinois for a 1-year grant for $40,000, managing information systems. And we had 4 or 5, 6 meetings around the state of Illinois that first year in 2003. In February of 2003 was the very first class. let's see if I got my alumni picture. This is the alumni picture of the very first class that took the Annie's project, Managing Information Systems as such. We met at Kaskaskia Community College, and originally when I put the program together, I had it in my head, especially here in Illinois, where we've got a strong community college system, that we would partner up with them for delivery, because this was going to be a face-to-face, in-person program, and we wanted an educational academic environment, and what fit that bill was the community colleges. So Kaskaskia College, Rend Lake College, Lakeland College. These were all community colleges that in the first year we held the Annie's project in those facilities. And in fact, the Kaskaskia College group offered 1 credit hour for the women who went through Annie's project. We submitted our class syllabus. Administration looked at it and said, well, this looks like it's worth 1 credit hour. So everybody got 1 credit hour. And you know, if we got time for stories later on, there's an interesting one on that too, as a result of getting the 1 credit hour. So we went through the first year. I think I targeted 100 women, 86 is what I wound up with. And then the next step in this adventure for me came in the form of a conference that I attended. This is the proceedings of the 2003 National Extension Risk Management Education Conference. This was in Dallas, Fort Worth. Excuse me. We had just finished up with the program here in Illinois, and I was on a panel with Deb Rude, University of Nebraska. And again, she was one of those who thought it would be interesting to explore the possibility. So let's do $2,000-$3,000 in 2002. Joy Kirkpatrick, who runs the Heart of the Farm in Wisconsin, I believe that's still going, along with Kevin Bernhardt, who also was involved with the Heart of the Farm, myself and Stacy Hedrick from South Dakota. And I think all those names are still floating around. If you know, I run into them in the media every now and then. And we all shared out our experiences with our programs that were specifically targeting socially disadvantaged, underserved audiences. And that would be in the farm women audiences. So in that audience was a critical piece to Annie's project. In that audience was Bob Wells. And Bob listened to the result of what I had to share. And bless his heart, he came up to me after the program and he says, I think we can do something with this program. So he started sharing with me, you know, what he could see happening to Annie's project, which we hadn't called it Annie's project at this point. It was still Managing Information Systems. And we came up with a training session in 2004. I think we were in, I don't know, Madeline, I don't think you were on with us yet, but I think, or Calvin, do you remember when we did the first training for disseminating Annie's project as a program?
That was in Ankeny, Iowa in
Ankeny.
2005.
There we go, Ankeny, Iowa. So we put this big training manual together, had a big crowd, an excellent crowd. And that meeting is the result of, and Carisha, this is where we began to involve you in the operation. In 2004, I guess it was right around this time, as a matter of fact, Bob convened a group of educators from Missouri, Indiana was in the room, Kelly Dreyer, I think, was in the room, Mary Soba, Tim Eggers from Missouri, or excuse me, Tim Eggers from Iowa. And we discussed what we could do with Annie's project to extend the reach of this program. Carisha, I'm going to call on you for just a second to recall some of the conversations we had in the room at that time.
That is going way back, Ruth. I have to dig into the recesses of my mind, but I just remember it being a very exciting meeting. I was a very new extension specialist at that time. Had graduated from college and started with University of Missouri Extension in 2002. And at that time, Bob Wells actually happened to be in Missouri. And so he was a mentor, one of my mentors, and he went to Iowa. And then when this meeting came up, he called me and he said, you really need to be involved in this. This is, something that'd be right up your alley. So I just remember being very excited. Like, I think everybody could feel in the room that we're like on the cusp of something really great that can be really powerful, really helpful to a lot of women. And so I know we kind of went through what topics, we talked about the risk management areas and what would we include in the curriculum, what we felt it would look like. So there's a lot of discussion and again, a lot of enthusiasm.
And Carisha, do you remember some of the criticisms that we were talking about the program, particularly with Tim Eggers and myself? One of the criticisms of the program was the length of the program. We had 6 meetings. The first 5 were planned, 3 hours a meeting. I mean, it was quite a curriculum, not a curriculum, but an agenda that we had together for these meetings. And I still remember Tim saying, it's way too much time. Women just aren't going to sign up for this kind of thing, even though we've been through it here in Illinois and had a little bit of feedback on it. So that was one of the pushbacks that I specifically recall in that meeting. And it's not the first time that we got pushback on the length of the meeting and the time commitment that women required. But over the months that we offered this program, we discovered that little bit of time that women could carve out for themselves really became an important part of them growing in their confidence and their experience in handling the farm situation. They would say things like, I've got this meeting I've got to go to. It's six meetings for the next 6 weeks. And can someone take care of the kids, or can someone take over my chores? Or, they would carve out the time to actually come to the program. And of course, the premises that I always offer is I will spend time on anything that is quality. Now I'm not going to spend time with anything that's junk and wasting my time, but this particular program touched a nerve with these women. And of course, I think one of the big things, like all programs where you have a core team involved, you kind of gel into a, what do I want to call it? Some kind of a mentoring support group. And that's what we became for each other, is just tremendous support to get this program out there. So 2005, we had our first training program. And from there, we received all kinds of accolades. This one here from a workshop was, congratulations on your achievement. We're proud to present the honor of Red Hot workshops spreading like fire across most states. And so we got that as a result of Bob Wells' efforts and the training programs that we were able to put together. One of the hardest things, and then I'll be quiet here, Doris. One of the hardest things to do, or to spread a program, to expand its reaches, is you got to take what's in here, all those years of experience and stuff that I told you, plus all my credentials of, who I knew in the industry and how I knew women, would react to a program. All of that had to come together and get put into a notebook. And if anybody knows me and has worked with me in the past, that is an almost near impossible feat to get it from here onto a page where you can share it out with people and still allow them to do what I was allowed to do, and that was put your personality into the program, adapt the program, read the audience and see what it is that they need at that exact moment. So Doris, I think that's my 20 minutes. I'm going to turn it back over to you.
Okay.
And
All
we'll
right.
take questions later on.
Sure. So we're going to invite both Madeline and Carisha. They were involved kind of in the next phase. Not that you weren't as well, but we wanted to mix it up a little bit and hear from some different perspectives on Annie's and the genesis here. So Madeline, I'm going to turn it over to you to say a few things, and Carisha certainly jump on in there and join in. You did a wonderful job so far, ladies, and we'll have a bit more conversation, and then we'll open, and then we'll talk a little bit about current activities, and then we'll open it up for questions. But if somebody has a real burning question, I'm sure none of these ladies would mind you jumping on in and asking a question or making a comment as you'd like. So, Madeline?
Well, thank you, Doris. So I was asked to help out with Annie's project in 2008. I had been working with Extension about 5 years prior to that in a different area with our value-added agriculture team and our cooperative development teams. So that was really quite exciting to be asked to work on this project. And I called my daughter to tell her about it. And she's like, wow, like just today, I went down to the Stevenson County, Illinois Extension office and signed me and Aunt Kathy and Aunt Bev and Grandma up for Annie's project. So that was very serendipitous that my family found this program at about the same time that the program found me. So that's a fun story I like to tell. So one of the reasons I was asked to help out with the project is because I had had some success with grant writing. And so I started helping out with some grants. And as Ruth mentioned, way back in the beginning, she received the money from the Risk Management Education Centers with that $2,000 challenge grant, and then with the Risk Management Agency with that first $40,000 grant. And so Annie's project has continued to benefit over all this time from the support of the Risk Management Education Centers, as well as the Risk Management Agency. We've also had beginning farmer and rancher program development grants. We've had grants from SARE, the Sustainable Ag Research and Education grants, as well as some other grant programs. So, you know, I just wanted to mention that the USDA support has been really valuable to this program over the years. Another key funding partner that really joined us early on and is still a tremendous funder is the Farm Credit Council and various farm credit associations across the country. And so they really became a significant partner very early on, at least since 2004. And like I said, continue to support Annie's project. So those have just been really helpful support that has allowed us to grow this program over time. So we celebrated Annie's project's 10th year in 2013 at the National Extension Risk Management Education Conference. We had, yes, Ruth, the mugs. We had a nice display celebrating our 10th anniversary, as well as a presentation, as well as an educator meeting that was kind of a post-conference event. So at that time in 2013, Annie's project had reached 33 states. We had recorded 581 Annie's project classes, reaching 9,709 farm and ranch women. So that was our 10-year milestone, and I don't actually know what the 20-year numbers will be, but that will be exciting to kind of compare and see the growth over time. A couple of interesting milestones. Oh gosh, I'm forgetting the year right now, but I want to say it was around 2011. Annie's project received recognition from the the National Agricultural Economics Association, so AAEA, for the work with women in ag, and that was really a tremendous accomplishment for everyone in Annie's project to receive that recognition. In 2018, our Iowa team received recognition from the National Association of County Ag Agents as a search for excellence in farm and risk management for our work with Annie's project. So, you know, I just mentioned this because it was just really neat to see Annie's project being recognized nationally. I think it was in 2015 when the NACA National Conference was in South Dakota. I counted up over 15 people that had received awards based on their work with Annie's project at that particular conference. So, and they were from everywhere, from South Carolina to Wyoming, receiving recognition for their work. So that I think really says a lot about, you know, just the people involved in Annie's project and the work that has been done with that. In 2019, our Iowa team received the USDA Undersecretary of Ag Award, again, for our work with women in ag based on Annie's project. So, you know, there's just been a lot of states, a lot of individuals, and the national team have been recognized over time for this work. So that's just another thing I wanted to highlight this morning. Robin Brumfield actually took a form of Annie's project overseas. I'm not sure what year that was, but that was really exciting to see her have some success with that. I see Robin is on with us today. And so she has actually taught various forms of Annie's project in a few different countries over the years. So very cool there to see that international exposure as well. I don't know, I could go on because this is pretty fun, but I think I'll turn it over to Carisha.
Thanks, Madeline. I just wanted to issue some thanks to Madeline because she really helped, I think, get us organized, because it seemed like we were growing so fast and there were so many states, people with interest in it. And so, you know, Bob had reached out to Madeline and we were glad to welcome her to the team. And we, during that time, the period where we were Capital Annie's, and I'm struggling to remember the acronym. I was thinking about that this morning, Madeline. It was Annie's National Network Initiative. I don't know, for educational success, maybe. Do you remember?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
Close enough. But we had a national leadership team where several of us, Ruth was on there, Bob, Kelvin, myself, Jason Johnson, Mary Soba, and I may be leaving somebody out, Madeline, but we kind of helped provide some guidance over the years. And Iowa State generously also hosted several in-person events where we could have trainings and come together. We also were able to kind of partner on with the Extension Risk Management conferences for a few times to have kind of an after conference meeting, just to be able to provide a way to bring all of our facilitators together for kind of some continuing education and some networking. But I feel like, you know, as you continue to grow, you realize you need to make some changes, because whatever the way you perhaps organized yourself, that there's some constraints to that. And so I think it's time to kind of turn it back to Ruth to talk about that next step for Annie's project.
Okay, so I'm going to say 4 words and see if Madeline and Calvin and Carisha remember them. Forming, storming, norming, and performing. What was that from, Madeline? Do you remember? Calvin?
Mr. Stein and our retreat that we held.
Exactly. We were at a point where we had formed this nebulous cloud about an education program for farm women. And by now we were referring to it as Annie's Project. But there was a lot of pieces that needed to be pulled together in order to make this program move forward in, just full speed ahead, rather than leaking energy off into all these other little sideshows that we're developing. So, one of the issues we had was Illinois was going through an extension reformation. We were reorganizing. And we had an opportunity to become a center for women education, farm women education. And for whatever reason, the University of Illinois turned it down. And that turn down occurred in 2008. Kind of broke my heart because I realized I was getting close to retiring from Extension in 2009. I did not want this program to go away because I was not going to be a part of Extension anymore. And there is your first cliff that we went over is Extension the sole owner of Annie's Project, or can we train people to deliver the program? So that was kind of the first divide that we had to get over in moving the program forward. All right, so how am I going to preserve a program that I don't want it to go away? Iowa stepped up and we had developed a memorandum of understanding to keep the program going. That memorandum of understanding came to a close in 2015. So let's take you back to 2009, 2008, shortly after the university said, the University of Illinois turned it down. I went and filed a nonprofit status of a program called Annie's Project Education for Farm Women with the state of Illinois, just strictly a nonprofit status. In 2009, I retired from Extension, and under the MOU, Iowa took the leadership to keep the program going strong. And throughout all this time, we're meeting with consultants to to put us on a positive path. How are we going to train people? What is a board going to look like? Who's going to control what? It gets messy. It gets beyond what's Ruth's role in this program is. And mine was strictly, I want to educate farm women. I didn't want to fool around with regulation, legislation, just all this stuff that goes with when you are moving beyond a university extension program. So we filed for the status of nonprofit in 2009. From 2009 to 2015 is when we were storming, putting together the components of this program. And what we wound up with is we have a charitable organization that was 501c3 that we formed in 2014. In fact, I think I'm one of the lowest learner letters that went out. If anybody recalls, in that time, we were going through some politicization of the nonprofit status, and we kind of got caught up in that actually. So we squeaked it through. I got one of the last letters of lowest learner who signed it that said, congratulations, you are now a charitable 501c3, Annie's Project. Put your board together, what's your plans and budgets and all that good stuff. So 2014 marks the official when we became a nonprofit charitable, and we have been moving it forward ever since. We went to the charitable side of things because we wanted people to have an opportunity to be able to contribute to this program and get credit for contributing to a charity, something that's near and dear to a lot of people's heart. They want to know how they can help. So we get contributions from people who see the value in the program and they just want to participate in that. From there, let's see, well, we needed to develop leadership type programs. And I will say this, the nonprofit enjoyed the support of two organizations that I'd like to, well, actually, I'm going to go three here. Three organizations that really helped move us forward. In 2014, when we went nonprofit, we rebranded. Madeline, remember rebranding? Oh my goodness, I never knew what went behind putting together the logos and just the rules of using our name and all that stuff. So 2014, we rebranded, and this was shortly after Bob passed away. He died in October of 2013, God rest his soul. And I'm hoping we're keeping his memory alive by, there's an award that we give for women educating, women, for any educator working with farm women to educate them. So in 2014, almost, just with heavy hearts, at least in my heart, I was sad because we had lost a major player in Annie's project, and now we had to pick up pieces and move it forward. And so with the rebranding, let's see, what's the name of the company, Madeline, that helped?
Group.
Meeks.
The Mix Group.
The Meeks Group out of West Des Moines, Iowa, rebranded us for an in-kind donation. So we are very appreciative of that. Lots of money goes into this kind of thing, and they rebranded us. So appreciation out to Meeks. Farm Credit Council, Washington, D.C. is a major contributor to Annie's project, and the nonprofit status assists in that, as well as our third major contributor I consider is Nationwide Insurance. And we recently lost them off our list, but we're hoping to win them back. So Nationwide, if you're listening, we'd love to have you back on our list one more time. But going that nonprofit status encouraged that kind of contributions. And of course, along the way, we've picked up different things too. Cortiva, they had some kind of a grant that we received that we were able to use. So, the nonprofit status gives us that ability to take in people's appreciation for what it is we are trying to do. So let's see. Doris,
Hey, Ruth, I was just remembering about your pretty cool experience in 2011 when you were a champion of change and you got to go to the White House and meet the president.
I did in 2011. I'm not sure. Well, actually, it was Janie Hip, who we had done, when I say we, Tim Eggers, Bob Wells, and myself, we had done sort of an internship in Washington, D.C. for 3 weeks. We each took a week, and Janie worked with us. She was with USDA. She nominated us to be a champion of change. And in 2011, I got a phone call from the White House that says, hey, we want you to come. And, I'm a nonprofit status at this point. I'm broke, don't have any money. I says, I'm afraid I have to turn this down. And I don't think they appreciated that. I think an invitation to the White House is supposed to be we invite y'all show. And, I'm looking at the books. I don't got the money, but somebody picked up my tab, and I think it must have been Janie Hip who did that for us. So yes, I did get to go to the White House. We were in the meeting, and all of a sudden, all of these security guards start popping up, and we go, oh, something's going on here. And I'm sitting with my back to the door. Everybody's face lights up. I turn around, and there, 2 feet from me, is President Obama. And okay, the president is standing over your shoulder. So I gave him one of these numbers, or to shake his hand. And he did shake my hand, but I guess you're not supposed to do that. I guess you're supposed to keep your hands to yourself. It was like Michelle touching the Queen. It was inappropriate, but nothing happens. It's kind of the way it happens. So he actually sat and listened. I did talk to the president. I did say we do need to encourage help from USDA offices to help us with that. So yeah, Madeline, I'm glad you brought that up. I had totally forgot about that.
Wow. For the circles we move in. Okay. All right. Well, I'm going to ask Carisha to talk a little bit. Let's just talk for a few minutes about kind of where we're at today and the exciting stuff that's coming up, especially this coming year. We have several really exciting things. Things have been exciting for a long time for the two of us. I mean, going way back to 2019, Carisha. So maybe you can address that a little bit, and then we'll open it up for some questions as we draw things down.
Sure. And Doris, please feel free to jump in at any time. But it has been a whirlwind, 4 years now. We came on about, I don't know, it was about September, I think, 2019, Doris, is when we started out. And, 2020 hit, and that was a big challenge for us. And Doris and I, we'd had talks about wanting to move Annie's project virtually anyway, to add that as another delivery method. And 2020 kind of advanced that really quick for us. But, I feel like, again, we're on the cusp of a lot of changes within Annie's project, and we've been working really hard to get our materials on our website updated, to have more available for our facilitators. Working hard to do a lot of facilitator trainings. We've been doing them virtual since the last in-person training we had. Besides, for those of you that may be doing in-person trainings within your states, but the last national in-person training we had was back in March 2020, and I was involved in that one in Idaho. So we want to do as much as we can to help our facilitators and help them to be prepared to go out and do great things wherever they are in their states, or now even we have Annie's project in a U.S. territory. But moving ahead into next year is the 20th anniversary of Annie's project. And so we're planning to celebrate all year. And we actually have a committee pulled together that's going to be working on some different ideas for this celebration. We hope that all of you within your own states are thinking of things, planning things. Just this week, actually, we had our annual conference for University of Missouri Extension, and we talked about what we're going to do within Missouri to celebrate the 20th anniversary of Annie's project. So a lot of fun things coming down the line. A lot of things we're kind of working on behind the scenes, and we're looking forward to sharing those with you as well. And Doris, please jump in and
Sure.
fill in.
So we're really excited about the 20th anniversary, and we're hoping the whole country and U.S. territories join us in that celebration. It's pretty exciting to see what started off as the seed, how it got nurtured, and it has flourished. And we're in 38 states and 1 U.S. territory. Over 18,000 women have been involved in our programs, and some men and other folks too. So although we're women centered, we do welcome anyone that wants to come and participate, and kind of use that methodology that Ruth likes to talk about, that we do use for making sure that people get develop the skills that they need to. One exciting thing, in addition to the 20th anniversary, next year we will be starting, we're one of 4 pilot programs in the country to help train and get folks organized either as crop underserved producers to get jobs as crop adjusters or crop insurance salespeople. So we are developing a training program for that, and this is through Risk Management Agency, but they're specifically looking at producers doing those roles and kind of having what we call a side gig or a side hustle. I think is what Sam Schweppe, who's also on this session, calls that. So we're hoping that we can help empower some more women producers, and that should be something that they can do along with their farming. And we're excited to be one of those 4 pilot projects, and that will be getting underway in the coming year. So that's exciting, and we have lots of plans for some leadership programs and some other curriculum development. So lots of things going on. But rather than us continue to prattle on, we're going to open things up for questions.
And could I add just one more thing, Doris?
Carisha.
We started off the conversation talking about Annie's project in relation to the 18-hour program. And one of the things that Doris and I are wanting to stress, going forward, that Annie's project is, really a big umbrella. It is the foundation, and we have all of these programs that fall underneath it. So the 18-hour kind of original Annie's 1.0 program is definitely, the cornerstone of Annie's project, but we also have other curriculums. We have the Managing for Today and Tomorrow. We have Know Your Numbers, Know Your Options. We have other curriculums that are being talked about and hopefully will start being put together shortly within this next year. And then we also have, this new opportunity with crop insurance that Doris talked about, as well as we have a leadership program that we're going to roll out next year. So a lot of exciting things that we're doing with Annie's.
Right.
And if I could, Renee, are you still on with us here? Renee Potter?
She is.
Uh,
I see her.
I see her. I don't know if she's listening in.
Renee, are you able to unmute and?
She might have had to step away, but Renee, if you do step back, one of the changes that we made to the program was we have Annie's project, and then Annie's project inspired by Annie's project. It's kind of an offshoot of the program where
I'm here. I'm here. I had a computer glitch.
Oh, we get those, believe me, Renee. Renee, and what I was telling the group here is we have these little offshoot programs that happen, and you were part of Women Marketing Grain.
Yes.
And you went to Chicago with us.
Yes.
Want to share a little bit some of our experiences in Chicago from
well,
Women
that has been a long time ago. And I probably have forgotten more than I remember, but we did have a wonderful time. I remember going to the Chicago Board of Trade, and that was my first experience doing that. And I that made a significant impression upon me. But the one thing I remember, Ruth, is going to Crate and Barrel with you.
Yeah. The side trips. Okay.
Those side trips. Yes, those side trips. And I think that's when I found out about your John Deere bedroom.
Okay, so we have some more secrets that are being
well,
shared
I don't
here
know.
that,
It's nothing risque by any means, but that was something that I did remember. But I really enjoyed that trip. It was nice to be with other women that were like-minded and trying to work their way through grain marketing, and I'm still trying to work my way through grain marketing. But that was a really neat little trip. I don't know if you've done anything like that since, but that was really a fun time.
Oh, thanks. And okay, so I got to tell you about the John Deere green bedroom, because since you brought it up, Renee, and this is your fault. No, never let a man decorate your room. Okay, that's what the bottom line on this was. Just everything went John Deere green on me. So rule of thumb. And Renee, at Crate and Barrel, you bought ice cream dishes. I've never seen anybody.
Really?
Yes, you did. I've never seen anybody study ice cream dishes like you did. That was kind of interesting for me too. But these are the kinds.
Ice cream is very important.
But these are the kinds of things that we do in Annie's project here, is we develop these kind of relationships that, Renee, you said it was a long time ago, but we still talk about it today.
Yeah, yeah.
So maybe not everyone knows Renee. Maybe Renee, you should introduce yourself and what's your connection here, so I think other people know.
I've been sitting here thinking, oh my gosh, how many years has it been? I I was remedial. I had to take it twice. I took one in Champaign and then I went to Decatur. Or I went to Decatur first and then Champaign. I'm not sure what the order was. But that was, back in the, was that late?
2005, I think, is where I saw your name pop up.
Was it 2005? I thought it was even before that.
Or it could have been 2004. Anyway, yeah, you showed up on one of my lists here.
Okay. Yeah.
So,
And
Renee, you're a farmer then, and
well,
you too.
I'm a landowner.
Okay, you're a landowner. Okay.
In 2013, I inherited some additional land from my mother, and really, the gentleman who was farming for us retired, so we had to get new farmers, and that's when I really got involved with farming. And I have a daughter now who late in life, my husband and I adopted a little girl, and she's now 25. And so I'm trying to instill in her, the love of the land and, wanting to keep that farm. We now have a sesquicentennial farm that I'm very proud of. That was one of my bucket list items, and I succeeded with that. And I just think Annie's project is a wonderful organization and wonderful ability to learn. And I would take another Annie's project, Ruth, again, another class.
Working on it. Working on it.
So, well, Renee, thank you for that stamp
You're
of
quite welcome.
approval.
And I'm going to have to leave because I have a meeting at 10. So I'm going to have to bug out. But it was nice talking with everyone. And Ruth, it was really great seeing you.
Thank you, Renee. Good to hear from you.
Yes. Well, I hope our paths cross at some juncture.
I'm sure they will.
Okay. Take care.
Marvelous.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Goodbye.
Bye.
All right. Other questions or comments, or anyone else out there have been on a shopping mission to Crate and Barrel with Ruth that would like to report in on what you purchased?
Well, I didn't go on a shopping mission with her, but I had a 3-hour drive with her my very first trip, and I was like, I have no idea who I'm getting in this vehicle with. It's just some lady and her pregnant daughter.
It was Lynn.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I'm very new to Extension, and they said, you're going to this program in Garden City. And I said, okay. Or not Garden City. Yeah, we were in Nebraska.
All right.
So anyway, flew to Omaha, hopped in the car with them, and off we went. Then I figured out who I was riding with after 3 hours.
So was that Garden City, Kansas that you went to?
No, we were in Nebraska, not Garden City, Nebraska, Central Nebraska.
Yeah,
Grand Island?
Grand
Junction.
Grand Island, yeah.
Oh, it's Grand Island is in
yes.
middle of
Yeah.
Nebraska. All right. So was that a good trip? It must have been an okay trip, Gigi, because you're still here.
I'm still here. It was a good trip.
Marvelous. Other questions, comments, things that people would like to add as we wind down here?
Hello, I'm Julia Duncan. I'm from the Extension Office over in Macon County, Illinois. I'm new to my position, so I don't know anything about setting up Annie's project yet. I did sign up for the classes in December, so I'm looking forward to that. But in the meantime, if I have any questions, is there like a good person to reach out to ask those questions to, or?
Carisha and I would be happy to answer any questions that you have, and I'm going to put our emails in and we can set up a meeting with you. We're happy to do that.
Perfect. That would be awesome. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
And Julia, our Illinois contact is Katie Bell I think she's in Jackson County.
Katie Bell.
Yeah, you can give her a call. She just got through with her Annie's project here a few months ago, and she can share with you her experience with the program. She did an excellent job.
Awesome. Thank you very much.
There's a lot of good people in your area, or kind of, well, Illinois is a big area, but there's a lot of great facilitators and good program coordinator. I have to get used to the language. Other questions or comments?
Hi, this is Karen Rutberg. I took the program with Robin Brumfield outside of Newark, New Jersey. And we talked, there was a meeting last year, I don't remember when, but that you may be developing an urban ag component. And I'd love to hear about that.
That is still in progress. We do have some states that have done some urban ag programming, and we're trying to get all of them together. You know, there's some things that have kind of come from national and gone to states and localities, and then there's other things. States have developed some awesome programs, and so we're trying to get the states together that have worked on urban, so we can kind of come up with best practices and roll that out nationally. And we're also looking at doing that with some of the marketing programming that's going on as well.
I meant to ask you that the other night.
So,
Great. So then how will you be disseminating that?
well, we'll certainly we'll provide it to our facilitators and our program coordinators, and then we may, depending on how things work out, we may offer, a program through some states, or we might do a region and kind of let people know, or potentially we could offer something on the national level virtually as well. So be watching our website and Facebook page for announcements of those kinds of things. The website has each state. So if you've got, the state that you want to go to a class, and you can check that out, click on the state, and it will tell you what's being offered currently. But Karen, we can also, if you want to email us, we can put you on a list, and we'll try to keep you up to date with things when we know things are going to be happening.
Super, thank you.
So
Great.
Karen, I got a question for you. Would you prefer face-to-face small groups, or is a Zoom thing popular these days? Give me an opinion here.
I think face-to-face is, I don't know, actually. I would do either, but if you're reaching, I don't know, it's a good question.
Okay, I'm just getting, you be a user of the program, kind of get your preference.
Thanks.
All right. Any other questions or comments from any of our audience?
Robin, I'm going to wind up the program with you because you have a very international component. You married a man from Turkey, is that correct?
Yes.
And
I'm
the name
not married to him anymore, but my daughters
okay, there we go.
have Turkish.
Okay, so and it's Sarah, was that the name?
Suzanne.
Suzanne's project. Yeah, I loved how you made that transition to work with women in Turkey, I believe was the program, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Well, I was married to Bülent for 15 years. And at that time, we went to Turkey for 2 weeks every summer to see his family, which I still get along with them, the ones that are still alive. And I had written letters to every ag university in Turkey trying to get a sabbatical and didn't hear back from anybody. But about 2 years after I wrote those letters, Dr. Burhan Özkan at Akdeniz University started at Akdeniz and found my letter in the drawer and contacted me. And at that time I was still married to Bülent, so we were going back and forth to Turkey every year. So we met each other in person. We actually visited some greenhouses because that's a big greenhouse production area, which happens to be my expertise as well. So we were, friends all these years. I've edited lots of papers written in English, but with Turkish professors who need some help. And then it became time to do a sabbatical in 2011. And I had just started Annie's project in New Jersey at that time. And Burhan Özkan had always said, you can always come to Turkey and do a sabbatical with me. And I thought, okay, I'll just take this Annie's project idea to Turkey, not realizing how naive and difficult that was. And it really made me appreciate our system in the US. I hope we treasure that because the land grant system doesn't exist anywhere else as far as I know. And in Turkey, it's a developing country, a middle income country, they call it. So they kind of look down on agriculture. Even the people that are in agriculture look down on it. There's just tons of small greenhouses in Antalya who are producing the most delicious vegetables in the world. And they're only doing it because that's all they know. They don't think of themselves as business people. They just think, I'm going to do this to make money, to send my kids to college, have a better life. And Turks are very focused on their children and making a better life for their children. So I just thought that was kind of terrible that people weren't appreciating this. So I wanted to empower those women and let them know that they were business women. They had never thought of themselves that way. I find the same thing in New Jersey. You know, when we first started Annie's project, we get so many comments. I never thought I was a businesswoman before, and now I realized that I am. So anyway, we visited, I think, 3 villages, did kind of a feasibility needs assessment of what they needed, found that Extension hadn't been working with male or female farmers in terms of business management. And also the university is totally separate from Extension there. Extension is part of the Ministry of Agriculture, and they tend to think that university people are sitting in their ivory tower and have no interest or knowledge of what they need. And the university people see the Extension people as just government employees collecting a paycheck for doing nothing. So there is no communication. But luckily, Burhan had gone to college with the director of Extension in that province. So that was the connection that we made. And we actually found a couple of female Extension people that hadn't really been working in production agriculture, but we teamed up with them, and I'm still Facebook friends with, well, 2, I guess both of them, but one's constantly doing management kind of things for women farmers now. So when we started the program, we decided to let the women name the program. And because of part of the reason that motivated me is because after 9/11, you'll remember people were very anti-Muslim. And while my daughter isn't, I don't think she would call herself Muslim, half of her family is. And so I thought it's harder to hate people up close, you know, and so I just wanted to make that connection and let them know that all Americans don't hate you. And so it was just been my passion, I guess, since 2011 when we started it. So we were trying to do a 10th anniversary celebration last year, but of course the pandemic happened. So we're trying to do something this year. Same thing in New Jersey. That's how we did that 10-year celebration Zoom conference last year. But I was told the Turkish, having people Zoom from their home in Turkey would be a little different. So I think I may Zoom into a meeting this year, but
Well, I'll tell you what.
the women named it Suzanne's project because it was Suzanne that really motivated me to start it, and they wanted to look forward to a young woman. She was in college at Rutgers at the time, so that was kind of special.
I've asked Robin actually if she'll do a little extended session, and maybe we'll do a comparison and contrast with, you know, Annie's in the U.S. and Annie's in Turkey, Suzanne's in Turkey's, and have a conversation certainly.
And I would suggest that our next coffee shop talk be the international component, you know, what we've done in the past through Robin here and the future, because I know you're involved with some of the international stuff there, Doris. So yeah, I would make that suggestion. Our next coffee shop be to those people who've gone overseas.
So,
That would be
all right.
happy to help.
Yeah, so we have some, well, you know, Robin's already agreed. We were having a side conversation, Ruth, after you mentioned that. So we're planning some more terrific programming. We are a little bit over time here. So if you need to hop off, we understand that. I'm just, before we hop off though, I'm going to turn it back to Ruth, Madeline, and Carisha to see if they have any questions, final remarks, and we'll hear more from Robin in the future when we can highlight and put the spotlight on the work that she's been doing.
Oh, thank you.
Okay. Thank you,
Ruth?
Doris. And I hope everyone has enjoyed this conversation that we've had because it's truly a conversation. There are no scripts. I did find my Obama Day picture. You know, we can go to the filing cabinet and get stuff. So yeah, I appreciate everyone coming and look forward to our next conversations.
Thanks everyone for joining us today.
And Madeline, any last comments? You're muted, Madeline.
Well, it was great to share some of this history with all of you, and I appreciate your interest in the history of Annie's project. It's been a lot of fun working on this over the years, and I just hope to continue working on it for many more years.
So thank you, Madeline. And just a short commercial. Actually, our next session is going to be in December, and that will be on 20th anniversary activities. And in the new year, we will feature Robin on our programming. So, but Robin will be getting with you on that. And thank you, everyone. We appreciate your feedback. So if you have notes, please send them our way, and we'll try to take up whatever demand you have for whatever topics in the future. Have a great rest of your day and a great weekend.
Bye,
Have a good
everybody.
weekend, everyone. Bye.